We're back on Country Pocket with Josh Fortenbery. Tidy Memorial is the name of the album, and in your on your first track, the character you at the moment, uh, talking about not really liking protest songs. So of course you go out and write a monster of a protest song. Tell me about the inspiration for Stephen.
Yeah, Stephen was a man named Stephen Kissack who uh, lived on the streets in Juneau. Him and his dog, who was also named Juneau, like the town. Um, and so he was pretty well known around the community. Pretty quiet, gentle guy for the most part. But like many people who are homeless, he had mental health struggles. I first met him, washing dishes at the Corey Hall, which is the shelter in town. But then I would see him around town, and all my friends worked in the bars know him because he'd be around, and he had this big, beautiful Malamute dog that was super chill and always wanted to get a pet. Um, and he was the police wanted to question him in conjunction with some alleged assault that happened downtown, and he was sort of having a bit of an episode, and he always carried a knife with him. And the questioning got pretty aggressive. Eventually, he got sort of, I think, shot with non-lethal weapons or like beanbags or something, maybe even tasered. But when he wouldn't drop his knife, they claimed he took a step toward them, and then he was shot and killed. And so this is not a unique story to Juneau at all. It's happening everywhere. But because it was so personal to me and so personal to so many people I knew in town, and affected so many people locally, and it happened right in downtown in the height of tourist season, which in Juneau means we have millions of cruise ship passengers come through here every year. So there's people who just got off the cruise ships. We're going out shopping and drinking, and right in the middle of all that hubbub, this guy was shot right downtown. So yeah, that next day, this is one of those songs that just sort of poured out in one sitting. And I did it just sort of to say something to the community, but folks seemed to really like it, and then I played it for his family, and they really liked it, so I decided to record it. So yeah, do I contradict myself? Of course, I said I don't like protest songs, and ended up writing something kind of like a protest song. Um, but again, I think it's one that asks questions more than provides answers. Probably, what do we do? What's the answer? Is it training? Is it better de-escalation? Is it better services, more housing, more mental health counseling? I don't know what the right answer is, but certainly we're not doing enough.
Yeah, I think sort of the thing I'd want to point to is um, in order to just shoot someone over de-escalating, there has to be this devaluation of a human life, right? But when does that start? Does that start uh, the way the police are interacting with the community? Or is that something that had to have started a long time prior, just, you know, indicated by the fact that he wound up on the streets? Like, it seems like to me the problem has to lie somewhere in what value we're placing on human lives. And it doesn't really seem like it's all that much, considering how, I guess, considering how fragile and precious they are.
I definitely agree it's all of the above. Certainly, as a country, we underinvest in services for people who don't have a home, who don't have enough food, who can't afford health care. the number of people who ended up homeless because of medical bills is pretty staggering. Um, um, and then, on the policing side, there's, you know, funding seems to be directed more towards artillery and equipment than training and de-escalation training. Um, and then, there's this the fundamental question of like, how do we create a policing scenario in which that doesn't lead to this situation where an officer does or doesn't, at least in this case, they all claim they're afraid for their own lives because he was, moving toward them with a knife. Whether or not, I'm sure a lot of people don't buy that at all. And in some scenarios, it's clearly that wasn't the case. In other incidents around the country where people were running away or were shot in the back. But I don't know where the first step is. I definitely think one of the biggest crises in this country is what to do with the people who are falling behind, how to get people off the street into houses, whether it's costing us more to um, spend money on policing and prison than it would be to find housing first before demanding that these folks have a job or it's very hard. Uh, I don't know how easy folks think it is to get a job when you don't have an address or an ID or an easy way to put on an application. Um, but it's not so simple, and so
Not
I don't
even
know where the
all
first
that
step
easy
is.
to get a job sometimes when you have all those
Of
things.
course, yeah, not these days, especially not one that pays enough to even pay for basic rent or food.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of exhausting stuff in there. Um, I feel like sort of the part of all this that makes me the most sad is that for a minute there, it seemed like this was something that we as a country had agreed we care about.
Mm.
And now it seems like this is something we as a country have agreed we can sort of use as a cudgel against people. Oh, you're questioning the way things are. Well, that must disqualify you from holding office and taking part in any debate. It's been such a whiplash event almost from close to real action to just the absolute disappearance of any hope for action. And I guess maybe that's just a larger symptom of the way things have been lately, just whiplash between the world is ending and we're saved.
Yeah, I mean, I think the tough thing is, and I think a lot of the whiplash and the back and forth comes from people, looking to one party, looking to another party, and hoping that eventually something's going to change in terms of their economic circumstances, and it hasn't. Inequality gets worse and worse. Real wage growth has been pretty stagnant. Job market's not great. Education becomes more and more unaffordable. Healthcare becomes more and more unaffordable. So it's like basic living conditions get worse and worse for everyone. It makes sense to me. People would vote back and forth, trying to just hope that something is different, that something changes, something is better. And nothing has. And I'm not sure anyone has taken up the mantle of building, making things better from the bottom up. Work focusing on how to fix wage stagnation, how to make a more fair tax system, how to make healthcare more affordable, how to make education free. I think without those basic things, we're going to continue to devolve into people who are susceptible to strong men and to conspiracies and just looking to anything new because the regular hasn't given them the answer they wanted. I think we've been seeing this decline since like the 2008 financial collapse. I think folks are just looking for something that's going to make them better off. And when something doesn't, they try something new. And I think they're still looking for that answer. And I think it's going to be really hard to worry about. I see it's going to be a hard time for us to get to a more sort of civil, respectful place when folks can't feed their family.
Yeah, and I do have to say to the conspiracy theory crowd, basically my question goes something like this. Um, you're telling me that the alignment of all the billionaires and powerful people who control all the governments and the media and the entertainment and the internet and all that stuff. And the fact that they're all sort of in it together, polarizing and distracting, taking more and more wealth for themselves, like they literally that's not a good enough conspiracy for you. And there's like tons of evidence for it, but no, that's not the conspiracy. That's not the conspiracy we want to talk about, right? We've got to worry about what's going on in the basement of a pizza shop that doesn't have a basement. Meanwhile, all these people from both sides of the aisle are actually at an island doing what's supposedly going on in this pizza shop.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know. I guess the thing to me about conspiracy theories is uh I just don't get people who have to make something up uh in this
Well,
world that provides much, much more than I could ever wrap my head around.
I think if I understood why certain ideas catch fire online and certain don't, I'd have a much more popular album. It's just it's hard to understand why certain things catch like wildfire and some don't. But I don't think it has anything to do with whether it's more plausible or more true. I think it's just what's more repeated. You hear something enough, and then it becomes the dominant thing that people talk about to the exclusion of anything else. It's
Oh,
strange.
well, sir, I definitely appreciate the way you don't claim to have the answers. Uh, that would be a pretty bold presumption to make as a humble folk musician.
I mean, I don't
Uh,
think we should trust anyone who says they have all the answers, to be honest. um, but yeah, definitely, I don't.
in a way, somehow that makes you more trustworthy. Nice little paradox there.
It's
Uh,
strange.
and the minute you say you don't know, it's like, oh, so he does get it.
um, well, yeah, I'm not. I guess hopefully other folks um, find ways to surround. Like I try to surround myself with lots of people who don't know. They know a lot about some things. We have our debates over what the best album of the year was, and some people think they really know. Um, but it's good to be around people who ask questions and are at least open um, to hearing what you might have to say. Open to being wrong. That's another thing that I'm also working on. That's a tough thing to do when you get older. Being open to being wrong.
Well, um, I think I'd be open to hearing one more. I'm gonna let you pick. The only rule is it's got to be something. Just try to find something that might might lean on the side of, there being some hope, not having to turn to nihilism and hopelessness. I'll let you see if you can rack your brain for a song that you did not create that might resurrect just a little bit of hope in this world.
Um, well, the most recent example I can think of is the newest Hayes Carl album has a lot of great lyrics, but "We're Only Human." It's a great song. I think it captures also some of the absurdity of what's happening today, but with a lot of empathy and sort of accepting that anyone can get better.
All right. Josh, thanks so much for coming on Country Pocket.
Thanks so much for having me.